Welcome to the Brothers in Influence podcast, where we stand to encourage, inspire, and add value to Black men in the areas of life, leadership, and community. We consist of five brothers discussing relevant topics with candor and care. Thank you for tuning in. Let's go. Yeah.
You know what I'm doing,
We're
Ian.
here.
And so we'll go ahead and remind the folks. I am in my phone right now, liking, tagging, subscribing, and the phone is coming back into my Roadcaster system. So that's what's happening, y'all. Y'all hear it in the background. But we are so excited, and thank you everybody for being with us. Is coming back into my Roadcaster system. So that's
Yeah, so this is your boy Ian Williams, the Purpose Coach.
We are so excited.
Excited for today's episode. You can find me at Son of the King 02 on Twitter and on Instagram with my family, the home team at Team Reconcile. You can find me at I'm excited because I have two of my close friends, my brothers, here with me. We literally shoulder to shoulder on the screen. And so without further ado, I want to give them a little space or a lot of space to introduce themselves. Let's go.
All right, Shawtae Price here again. I think that was me too, Lorenzo. I think it was my phone. So my bad.
Turn the speakers off.
Yeah. Yeah, I got my phone was connected to. I forgot my phone was connected to it. But anyway, Shawtae Price here, your leadership and financial coach. You can find me on all social media networks with my name, Shawtae Price. Website coming soon. Lorenzo.
Hey, what's up, everyone? This is Lorenzo Daughtry Chambers with Win with Lorenzo. I literally just help people win. I believe that we all can win because we're playing different games. And so I help people strategize. I minister to, I coach, I train, I develop. I help people get to the fullness of what God has called them to do and be and have. In the fullness of all of that. So love for you to check me out, winwithlorenzo.com. You can send me a message, DM me if you have a business, ministry, organization, if you're a leader and you need some help. I'd love to be of assistance. Back to you, Ian.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. I love it. I love when Lorenzo introduces himself and he talks about helping you win. Win, 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 win. You know, he's serious about it. And, the line about, we're all playing a different game. But it just kind of hit me in my spirit just now as I'm listening to this, that, the thing about it is that you are in control. You are in control. And so it's just a matter of becoming aware of what you have at your disposal, what opportunities you have, your gifts and your talents. And really, Lorenzo is here to help take you to the next level so you can get a little bit closer or a whole lot closer to fulfilling your potential. So yeah, that's what we're about. Yeah,
that's what we're about. And honestly, all of us, Ian, like we all help people say, listen, what is your God-given purpose? What have you been called on this earth to do? Let us help you with that. I think that's essentially what we're all getting at is like, listen, we are people that the universe, God, source has sent to humanity to be helpful, to help you unlock that which is inside of you. So I think that's one of the reasons we're kindred, and we're drawn to one another because we're on that vibrational frequency of let us give. And in giving, you actually get more. That's a whole nother thing. But yeah.
Yes, sir.
Absolutely. Absolutely. We all carry this same, what I say, burden of purpose. And, by being helpers, we help each other and we just want to share the love, Like the word says, the good book says iron sharpened iron. We're only getting sharper and sharper every week we get on together. And so we just want to share that.
Yes.
Yeah, and so last week we took a few minutes to kind of give a shout out to home, right? We got Detroit, Michigan in the house. We got Brooklyn, New York in the house. We got we got Louisville, Kentucky, or Kentuckiana in the house, and I was listening to last week's episode, and I felt a little remiss because I kind of downplayed where I'm from, and it's not a game out here. You know what I'm saying? Brooklyn, everybody know Brooklyn, everybody know Detroit, but I'm from the home of Muhammad Ali, the Kentucky Derby. You know what I'm saying? We got things popping down here, so I don't act like we some sad, strange place. Because a few times a year, all the celebrities will come down this way.
Yeah, no, Kentucky is heavy. You guys got, especially like Louisville Slugger in that region. I'm not gonna lie, Kentucky. Like, who's around y'all? I don't know who's around y'all, but I know Kentucky.
Yeah, Kentucky. What you mean, states?
Yeah,
Indiana, Tennessee, Virginia. You know what I'm saying? It's a beautiful country down
here.
Virginia.
Yeah, okay.
Yeah.
Heavy spots. Yeah. I mean, it's the country. We much respect to the entire United States. We don't ever want anybody to feel like we're downplaying your area wherever you may be tuning in from.
Listen, I played myself a little bit last week, so that's what I'm saying. Like, you know what I'm saying? But while I say that, we're the home of Muhammad Ali, but we're also the home of a queen. Her name Breonna Taylor.
Yes.
Yeah. So I want to let that breathe a little bit. You know what I'm saying? Yeah. We haven't forgotten her name, and with that being said, that's another reason why we do what we do here. You know, because we have our trials, we have our tribulations. Our people, we've gone through some things, and we just want to help encourage. We want to help uplift. There's a lot of stuff out in the airwaves that come across our screens that could keep us weighed down with the heaviness of the life that we are charged to live. But there's a lot of beauty in it as well, and so we want to not ignore those heavy things. We want to help strengthen each other so that we can continue to persevere, and not only persevere but thrive. And we want to carry on and leave legacies that really make a difference for the next generations. And so that's what we're here for. Brothers of Influence, Life, Leadership, and Community. Let's go.
Yes, sir.
With that in mind, today's topic, we are talking about mindfulness in the midst of chaos. Mindfulness in the midst of chaos. Fellas, I haven't mentioned this, but I was actually scrolling on social media the other day, and I saw some discussion going on, and I didn't get into it. Like I'm like thinking about it. I'm reflecting. I'm like, maybe it was an opportunity to educate. But first of all, I'm not so arrogant to believe that I'm in a position to educate anybody on the social media platform in the chat.
Right,
in the comments.
Yeah,
that's not a space I'm trying to be in.
That's not your space, bro.
but someone of my persuasion expressed some concerns about the advocacy of mental health in the Black community. If you didn't know, it's hashtag Mental Health Awareness Month. So we've been holding a discussion all month long amongst the brothers, and we're inviting you, if you're listening, watching, to join in with us on this discussion and the importance of mental health for us as individuals and as a community and as a larger member of the human race, really. And so, but what kind of caught me was that someone was expressing that the whole idea of mental health advocacy was something that was meant to placate or sidetrack Black people who have been, known to persevere and overcome, who are strong, and we are all those things. But it just kind of was like, this is really an oversimplification. Maybe there's a misunderstanding. I really wanted to just ask, like, what do you think mental health is, and why would you feel advocating for it would be holding us back instead of lifting us up? So I wanted to just kind of put that out there and see what you guys thought of that.
Yeah. Can you kind of say that again for me one time, what they were saying?
Yeah, the brother was just saying in the comments of some post, I don't even remember what the post was, but he's like, in mental health, this whole idea of mental health seems like something that they're using to hold us back. As it's not really something to uplift us. It's something that's just used to distract us. Like, we're above it and we don't have to worry about it, as much as we've been through and the way we overcome. Like, mental health is just one of those things. Like, it's kind of like what we what we might have said 10 years ago is white people ish. We don't need it.
Uh-huh. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
So we know mental health has to do with your uh, psychological, your mind, and your emotions, because those things work hand in hand. And so, just hearing that, on one end, I get it. You know what I'm saying? As I'm a black man in America, I think
Come
I
on,
get
bro.
it, but I may not ascribe to it. And so why do I say that? Because and I believe I said something similar last week. This has been going on forever. You know, it we're just bringing the forefront to it as the profession. We're talking about the profession of mental health,
Right.
because uh when I meet with you guys every week, mentally and emotionally, I'm engaging you guys, and if I have any issues going on in my life, you guys are there for me.
Hmm.
I have another group of guys I meet with on Tuesday. It's a fatherhood group called Dads on Deck. Same type of thing. I can call any of them guys. I can reach out to them whenever, but we share who we are and how we're feeling, and we're there to encourage one another. And so the profession stems from life. The
Hmm.
profession stems from life. It's just a fact. Just like anything, before you had to have certain things, a license to do things, it was there, fixing cars and all this stuff. And then it became a profession where you may have had to have license to do it, da da da. So it's the same thing with mental health professionals, because they have a more direct and systematic way of dealing with whatever your issues might be. And
Right.
so that's why they have the ability to help someone outside of that friend. And so, one thing I was thinking about this week, and I think I actually heard somebody say it, and I just wanted to bring it up here. So for anyone that's watching, or anyone that may watch in the future, think about that person, strong person, that person that you can go to, or many other people go to when you have issues, that the strongest person, and I want you to go ask them how they're doing. Not just, what's up, man, how you doing today? No, how are they doing? Because for you to think of them, when you heard me ask that question, you thought of somebody. So you to think of that person or those people, that means you have high regards or respect for them. At the same time, you have to think they're strong for a reason, but there's also weakness and strength. And so they
Come on,
need to
bro.
be checked on too. That person that you constantly go to, that person that's there to encourage you, that person that's there anytime you need them. Sometimes you just need to sit back and ask them how they're doing. You need to be there for them sometime, because if they're when I think of people like that, I think they're burden bearers, and
Hmm.
that's a gift to be able to bear other people's burdens. But at the same time, you still have a psyche, and you have emotions, and you want to know that people care for you too. So
Right.
so so make sure you do that. If it's 10 people, guess what? You make some time, 15, 20 minutes, and you call them and say, you know what? You've always been there for me, and I know you want the best for me, but this time I need to know how you're doing. So I wanted to throw that in there, because I just think it's important that those people know that they're cared for. They
Yeah.
they need a little encouragement sometimes, because if they're a burden bearer, that means they're carrying a lot on their shoulders, and sometimes, just like Moses, they might need some people to hold them up.
Yeah. And what's interesting about the burden bearer is that when you go to ask the burden bearer how they're doing, be careful, because in the first minute and a half to 2 minutes, they're going to switch it around and they're going to be asking you how you're doing. And if you're not mindful, you're going to get back into a whole self thing, and the burden bearer will get off the hook for having to actually explain how they're doing. I say that because I'm a burden bearer. I know all the tricks.
Same
in the vein, Ian, of what you said too, and thank you for Shante for getting us started on that vein. You know, I think it might be in our coach's mind or our ministry mind where we first seek to understand where people are coming from before we postulate or put forth an opinion or a remedy. And so as I start, Ian, I think I understand what the sentiment, however flippant they're trying to, you know, get after it. I do understand this portion of, is it better for people to just continue to struggle through something? We've gotten this far by faith. We've gotten this far without the mental health piece. And so is this it's just a trick or a ploy of the enemy to pull us back? I don't know if it was last week, Ian, that you said this. I don't know where I heard this from, but I heard someone recently say resilience is a myth. Now I have to go and find this thing. The person was talking about the idea that resilience is a myth. So the person they're talking about, what do you mean resilience is a myth? Oh, I'm good. Oh, I'ma just brush that off. Black people, brown people, we know how to be resilient, boy. I'm gonna get over that. I'm moving past that. I'm good. I'm gonna shake that off. I'm gonna keep going. No. Resilience is a myth because you're not good. And so as I sit with the person's opinion, I don't discredit it. I understand where it's coming from, but where I would push back and say is, like we talked about last week, we're evolving as a species, we're evolving as a people. And so for one dispensation of grace, it was fine to just shut up and keep it quiet and be resilient. But for the future of where we're heading into, you have to have some mental health pieces. There's no way the zeitgeist or the popular culture keeps hammering home mental health if there's not something to it. So that would be my initial thought. Like, I understand. I agree with you, Ian. Wise man, social media is not the place to get into it because some people are just on one just to be on one. But at the end of the day, like, just to be clear, no, we all know how important mental health is and how much of a privilege it is to have access to it and how much of a privilege it is to have resources.
Absolutely. Yeah, and to Shantae's point, you know, many of those strong people are wonderful Black queens, are ladies, you know.
Yes.
The ones that are giving, serving, attending to, and don't get attended to themselves, don't feel like they have the time to attend to themselves. It's to employ self-care. My mom is one of those people. I know. I can think about growing up, you know, so our mothers, our sisters, our daughters, constantly asking to be giving without getting. And it's funny because the natural human mind sees this person that's always giving, and we just automatically assume that they always must have to give. And so
that's good.
When that's not the case at all, a lot of us are giving out of a deficit. And that's really where we can get in trouble. And we find ourselves, and my truth is that, you know, knowing that from experience, is that leaves us wrestling with the heaviest burdens a lot of times, you know, in secret. Because we don't have time to tend to ourselves. We don't have time to stop and really answer that question honestly, or nobody's taking the time. And really, sometimes it takes that person not only taking the time, but forcing us to sit down, slow down, be mindful, be present, and be like, you know what? I'm not really okay. I mean,
yes.
When Lorenzo said that first minute and a half, I'm like, I'm thinking, you know what? First of all, I'm caught off guard. I'm shocked that you even thought to ask me. Because nobody asked me. And I'm like, am I okay? I don't know. I'm not sure I'm okay. I'm okay. I'm not sure I'm okay. You know what? I'm not okay.
Yes.
You know what I'm saying? So most people ain't got the patience for that. They just like, okay, you all right? You good? All right, bye. See you later. You know what I'm saying? I'll holler at you later. But really, when it comes to the people who are giving the most, usually it really does take the time because they're so focused on meeting everybody else's needs that they're not even aware of their own.
Yeah. And if I have to be in that place of a good, cheerful place to give, then that person is not entertaining anything else. So to you guys' point, it is the person asking, are you okay? It is the person inquiring, giving the giver the opportunity to search and say, you know what, I'm probably not good, and this is the first time I might be admitting it because I have to continuously pour out to other people.
Yeah.
And so if you're a leader, go ahead, Shante. But if you're a leader, hear this. It's okay to not be okay.
Yeah.
All right, go ahead, bro. Sorry.
Absolutely. And kind of made me think of last weekend when Ian, he mentioned the quote. I don't know if you can remember it, Ian, about the friendship. The
friendship.
Didn't somebody post something? What was the quote you read from online?
Oh man, let me go ahead. Go with your point.
I believe it was around friendship, and I think and how you just said we were talking about somebody coming and asking that strong person how you doing, and that you having that mental tug of war before you flip it back on them, because you're going to have that. It isn't just that you don't just go right to flipping it around. You are saying in your mind, am I okay? I wonder, am I, and then especially us as C's, right? Because we want to always have it all together.
Right.
So, but it just made me think about friendship or the concept of friendship and really understanding what it is, because it isn't my mother, as growing up, I used to always ask my mother, like, you go with my friends, and what she used to always say, you don't have friends, you got associates. I'm like, I'm a kid. I'm like, what the heck?
Yeah. That's a little deep.
Yeah.
7-year-old.
Yeah. But getting older, I kind of, and I'm talking about when I say older, I mean, as a grown person, in my 20s and stuff, I really began to understand the what she really meant by I don't have friends, I have associates, because
that's real.
I actually think of the scripture that says we have a friend that sticks closer than a brother, I believe it is. And I kind of often think of that, because that's kind of like that little quote is almost like an oxymoron. A friend that sticks closer than a brother. Who's going to be closer than my brother, right? My family. But oftentimes we find people like that in our lives that help us on our journeys. And it isn't that they're more important than our families or what have you, but that bond, it's about the bond versus the word friendship. It's about the bond, because true friendship is lived out. I would say it's real. It's visual. You can see it, right? Because when I ask you how you're doing, and I gave an example, a brother texted me and asked me how I'm doing. I said, okay. And then he said, no, I've been thinking about you. How you doing? And he's saying, no, I don't want that answer. How are you doing? Because I've been thinking about you for a reason. I care about you. I want to make sure that you're okay. So how are you doing? That's really what he meant when he hit me back the second time. I don't want that one word answer. I want you to express to me how you feel, because I feel like there's something going on with you, right?
Come on,
so that's a friend. Because now, although a friend may allow you to do that a couple times, eventually they're gonna be like, no, they're gonna show up at the door. You can't just keep pushing them off, because they're a friend. They love you. They're in a relationship with you where they want the best for you. And that's what friendship is. And so I wanted to point that out, is those are the people, whether you call them friend or not, but those are the people that, and at the same time, some of those people aren't there forever. They're not on your journey. Some are there for a moment, some are there for a time, but that doesn't make them any less. We all have people that we think about so often. We like, man, I wonder what happened to such and such. You just grew apart. That doesn't mean they're a bad person. Don't mean you're a bad person. That's just life. Some people aren't going to be in your life forever. That's just the fact. So
that's so good, bro. I mean, that's some good teaching right there. That's an episode in itself, I think. Because really, we don't. The quote was that friends are so essential. I don't know why people take pride in saying that they don't need friends. LOL. Just say you don't know how to be one.
Yeah, and that end part, just say, if you can be honest, that don't mean you don't have friends, but if you can be honest with yourself, because you have to be honest with yourself first before you can be honest with anybody else anyway.
Come on.
But if you can be honest with yourself and say that you know what, I don't know how to be a friend.
Yeah.
That's the beginning of the end of that journey of being able to be a true friend. Because just because how mama them was friends with people don't make it the right way to be friends with people, you know.
Oh wow.
That's good. That's good.
You know, let's just keep it real. That don't mean, and Lorenzo said it last week, well, the things that we say, we're not beating people up for who they were or how they did things in their past, because we can only do or reply based on who we are at that moment. So we're not negating what anybody's been through or how they responded to life's trials. All we're saying is that we believe we have information that can help change a situation for the better. So when I say something like how mama them used to do it, that don't mean mama them was bad. That don't mean they didn't know what they were doing. They can only respond with the information they had at the time. And if I believe that we can do better than they did, which most parents want their children to do, that's what we're sharing with you.
Well said. Well said and well done. Good editing on there.
He's in his bag, man. Oh yeah, I had to just put the spotlight on him for a second because he was in his bag. Come on, man. Listen, and you know, this man, like I said, this could be an episode in itself. But I wanted to point back to Lorenzo too. We talked about resilience a little bit. I actually saw another meme from one of our ladies, sisters. She just posted on Twitter. She said, I dream of never being called resilient again in my life. I'm exhausted by strength, period. I want support. I want softness. I want ease. I want to be amongst kin, not patted on the back for how well I take a hit or for how many.
My God, read that again.
Please. Please read that again.
She said, she said, I dream of never being called resilient again in my life. I'm exhausted by strength. I want support. I want softness. I want ease. I want to be amongst kin, not patted on the back for how well I take a hit or for how many.
Wow. And so that is the response to the person that we started with initially, that you were considering writing to them on Facebook. It's almost one of those things like those who know. If you have gone through enough, if you have experienced enough, you get to a point where you say enough is enough, and you make decisions to move your life in one direction or the other. And what we're presenting and what we have been presenting as Brothers of Influence is and are alternative ways to live a more powerful, purposeful, more fulfilled life. And so that's why we're talking about mindfulness in the midst of chaos, because we all live chaotic lives. Before we were getting on, we were talking privately about some things related to home and fatherhood, right? The world has shifted, life has shifted, and while things are opening up, things are still different. Businesses are adjusted. People that, you know, you didn't expect to be a 24-hour caretaker of your child. You might have signed up to be with your spouse for 8 to 10 hours a day, and now you're with them for 24 hours out of the day. We live in a chaotic society, and so what our hypothesis is that you have to find time to practice and exercise mindfulness, because it is necessary.
Yeah. So that's perfect. I mean, we got kind of deep in the trenches right off the bat. But if you didn't notice, the title of today's talk is just mindfulness in the midst of chaos. And so we've been touching on mindfulness last several episodes. Is this hashtag Mental Health Awareness Month. This is an ongoing conversation. You know, it's not contained just within the month. of May. But we are mental health advocates. We are mental health champions. We want to encourage, inspire, add value in this way. We want to uplift and shout out to our guy Sherrod Ledet, the leadership locksmith. One of the words he often uses is efficiency. We want to help you be more efficient in your living. We don't want you to waste no energy. We only have a limited amount anyway. You know what I'm saying? So we want you out here winning more often than not. And what that requires is just like, not that many black folks watch NASCAR, but just like a NASCAR, you got to take a pit stop every once in a while.
Absolutely. Leadership locksmith picking them locks.
Yeah. Shout out to our boy. He was not able to make it today, but he's here in spirit. So I want to make sure I shout him out.
Yeah.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. So we talking about mindfulness in the midst of chaos. And so we've already defined mental health. We kind of we touched on it a little bit, but to clearly define it, we're talking about your psychological and emotional health and the way that you cope with those things. Because we're taking hits, right? It's impossible to be a human being and not take a hit emotionally or psychologically at some point in your life. And at this point, that's a daily thing. You know what I'm saying? You turn on the news, that's a psychological hit. You pull up social media, that's an emotional hit. You know what I'm saying? So at some point, those you might be tough and all that cool, but those things add up.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
And if you don't deal with it,
and
if you don't deal with it, one day you'll just be in the bed all day, and then the next day you'll be in the bed,
and you won't know why.
And you won't know why.
Yeah.
Absolutely. And you won't know why. So each of us we have stress that we deal with, and that stress could be different for each of us. The stress that the three of us on this podcast deal with is different. But we each deal with the stress, and we hold the stress like we host it. There's a book that that therapists will talk about, or people who are just really in this space and discussing these topics. It's called The Body Keeps the Score. I don't know if you guys have ever heard of that. I have not read it, but I know my wife has really kind of advocated it for me. But just the premise is the things that we go through, like regardless of how tough and resilient we see ourselves being or how we've moved on, our body has a memory of the traumas and things that we've experienced.
Mm-hmm.
So, and I haven't, you can think like we got we're not young anymore, right? We're not young 20s, right? We're not old yet, but at the same time, you might have started to experience some things where you took an L when you was in elementary school, and all of a sudden, last Wednesday, your hand started aching in that spot. You didn't realize.
Yeah.
but back when you was in elementary school, you just jumped up and kept on pedaling.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? So it's the same way, emotionally, mentally, physically, even those psychological and emotional traumas that you experience. You might have got up after being knocked down at 3 count. It might not have knocked you down to the 10 count, but the fact of the matter is your body will continue to carry that with you, and it might cut. And if not properly healed, if you don't rehab well enough, then it's going to come back to haunt you.
Example, right? I bought a scale the other day. I'm the same weight I used to play football at. Played, serious high school football, serious college football, and I was the same weight I was back then. I look a whole lot different now, though. I'm carrying that weight differently, and my body feels different, right? The same thing you were carrying before, you might not be able to carry in the same way, and it will look different on you. It's the same exact thing, but it looks and feels different.
Yeah, that's good. That's good.
Yeah.
So, what we talking about? We talking about at work. We talking about home. We talking about in our relationships. And even in our own head, we carry it. The way we carry stress. So this conversation and these conversations, even outside of hashtag Mental Health Awareness Month, we want this to be a space where you can consider new ways to handle your stress, to take on challenges and opportunities in a mentally healthy way, with mindfulness and self-care is what we're talking about. And the thing about it is like, even though you feel like you just got up and walked it off and dusted off your shoulder or whatever, you're still coping, right? It's just a matter of how you're coping and whether you're aware of it is the key, right? because you're gonna go somewhere and somehow nurse your wounds, but is it the healthy way to do it, right? Or is it just the thing that you always done because it felt good, and now it's turned into a habit, and it may or may not be helpful. It may not be edifying. It may not be building you up. It may be tripping you up even further. It may be causing you to repeat the same mistakes. So we want to help break those cycles. And so when we talk about mindfulness, we're talking about just being conscious and aware of something, right?
Yeah.
Being conscious and aware. So coping is happening. Coping is happening consistently. Your body's going to do what it has to do to help keep you alive. Matter of fact, if you take some college biology classes, you'll learn about a thing called homeostasis. I'm gonna be a nerd for just a second. But homeostasis is what your body's natural mechanism to help you maintain balance. And so, a simple example of that is like when you get cold and you get goosebumps and your hair starts standing on end. If some bodies are more efficient at this than others, but what your body is trying to do is trying to insulate itself. The hair standing up on end is meant to capture heat. So if you're cold, it's trying to help you stay warm. Like, that's not just some sort of random reaction that happens to let you know that you're cold. It's actually your body's trying to balance itself in the midst of conditions that are trying to, deregulate its temperature.
That's good.
And so these things are happening. It's just, again, whether you're conscious or aware of it. And then self-care is just, it's kind of your deliberate, your self-initiated, and that's important, self-initiated, intentional, something that you have control over, something you are purposefully choosing to engage in to help you regulate yourself, to help self-regulate. Okay? As opposed to something you're not conscious of and you're just kind of falling into, and there's a lot of examples of that in different people's lives, and it manifests differently. But I know that my family in particular has had a problem with alcohol. So it might start out okay, where you take a drink socially, or you're just kind of engaging, but next thing you know, you probably back down 5 or 6 bottles of beer or whatever, and you don't even realize, something really popped off today and it bothered me, but I kept trucking, so I didn't even really deal with it. But now you're trying to put them at the bottom of their bottle. Go ahead.
And to your point about homeostasis, when your body now correct me if I'm wrong, but I'm trying to roll with it. If your body does not and is not achieving active homeostasis, then your body moves into what's called toxicity. Right? And now you're toxic. And it's become a joke in the culture that, that's toxic. If you go on social media, everything is toxic. Everyone is toxic because we're out of balance. We have moved out of that homeostasis into a place of toxicity, and we don't even realize it. And so there are things you have to do, remedies, ailments, prescriptions to move your body from toxicity back to homeostasis.
Yeah.
Man, I feel like a quarterback. I threw up a prayer, and the star wide receiver came, smashed everyone. Let's go. Let's go. Come on.
And like you said, that mindfulness is being conscious or aware, right? And so we said this quote several times before: the law of awareness. You must know yourself to grow yourself. So I was thinking when you was talking, and I just thought about this. So I'm gonna try to work it out. I just thought about it. So, but I just thought about this guy that decides that, you know what, I'm gonna do this. What you call it, triathlon. So he says, and so his friend who has done it before says, well, do you want me to work with you so we can get you prepared? He says, no, I got this. So he begins to work out. He's working out, he's doing this thing, working out so he can win this triathlon. So the triathlon comes and so he's on the bike and he starts off slow, and he moves up to the middle and he's on it. He done did his thing with the bike. He done did his thing with the running. Then he get to the side of the water and he just loses it because he doesn't know how to swim. So we're talking about mindfulness and knowing ourselves, right? His friend came forward to help him, because guess what? If his friend knows he can't swim, right? That's why his friend's like, do you want me to help you? Because this is something you're gonna have to learn to be able to conquer this goal. But I got this, right? So, but you missed the whole concept of what this is all about. It's about endurance and about conquering these 3 different avenues of your endurance, and you just wanted to do it on your own. And so he loses it at the water, right? Because he's frustrated. But whose fault is it, right? He didn't want to engage with no one. He didn't understand about being self-aware or mindful about who he is and what he's capable of doing, you know. And Shiraz says every experience leaves a mark, right? And for us as people, we have to be aware of those marks, because we will never get over that next hurdle if we're not aware of how things have impacted us in the past. And Lorenzo talked about a person becoming toxic, and I think that's why we become toxic, because if we don't know how to deal with these issues or these encounters we've had in life, and we just bury them, or we just say, I'm just gonna keep on moving. Ian talked about the drinking, right? We let all these external things, we allow these external things that happen to us to dictate the trajectory of our lives. Yes, things happen. Yes, as a kid, something will happen, and yeah, it might take me a moment to be able to get over it and understand what happened to me and how I can get over it. But we got a lot of people that's of age that's still allowing these things to dictate the trajectory of their lives. And us as the brothers in influence, that's what we're here for. We're here to share our experiences, some of the things we've been through, what we've come out of, so that those we come in contact with will have an opportunity to better that next leg of their lives.
Yeah,
That's good, bro. That's good. And I love what you said there about being conscious aware of how things affect us. You know, and this is where mindfulness and self-care go hand in hand. We have to, but it requires steps to control the way our mind reacts to the things that we go through. For example, for me, when I am confronted with stress or with an overwhelming feeling, I often withdraw, and that doesn't bode well for my relationship with my wife. So I'm having to learn. I'm having to recognize how I respond to stress or confrontation or whatever, so that I can be present, and not turn away from my wife when things get tough, but turn towards her.
yeah. Because most men, if we're real, we turn away and not towards.
Mm-hmm.
And that's so key what you said. You said it so nonchalantly because it's so regular to you, but that's huge, right? Like leaning into the problem, and you said it last week, leaning into the problem versus turning away from it. And then understanding our triggers. I think last week we talked about like the amygdala hijack concept, without calling it that, right? Where the fight or flight response, things will happen to you, and then based upon how you respond mentally and internally, you will create a story or a way of being around the thing that happened. And so what's coming up, and what I heard what Shartae was saying, is things will happen to people when they're 11 years old, and they will carry on through life with that thing that happened when they were 11 years old. Yeah. Lorenzo, what are you talking about? You're in a middle school class and you're really bright and smart. You raise your hand to give the answer. You're completely wrong. And the whole class bursts out laughing at you. And now throughout the rest of middle school and high school, you're not participating as much. And you can become an adult and you're not participating as much. That's a light bulb for somebody. You just realize that that's you. So these things happen to us, and we don't unpack them, and we sit with them, and then they become a part of our personality schema, and we don't even realize it. And we don't realize that we keep getting triggered based upon this thing that happened so many years ago, because We just aren't in touch with it. We haven't just paused enough to do the work and the thinking of saying, wow, when I was 7 and that thing happened, that really messed me up and impacted me in X, Y, and Z way. And now I've lived my life with X, Y, and Z construct. Can I get free at 40? Can I get free at 50? Can I get free at 60 from this thing that happened when I was 7? Not to negate the thing that happened, because it was very real. But now what we're trying to do is present tools and pathways to say, all right, we can conquer this.
Yeah. I think something important too is that concept you just used is that, see, too often, so Lorenzo used the example of the kid who raised their hand. So I'm going to stick with that example. So we bury it, you know, because we don't want to deal with it. We don't get it, or somebody, or we will even try to go share it with somebody. And what did they say? Oh, that's just kids being kid. Instead of doing it in a way where the kid understands is, yes, that is kids being kids, but also speaking to their hurt. So that's the important part. You have to speak to the hurt. I tell people all the time, you cannot live up to anyone else's expectation. So whereas I might say something and say, Lorenzo be like, felt like I was talking about him. And he comes to me and say, man, Shawty, man, when you said that, man, you really hurt my feeling. Now, I can say to myself that, man, you tripping, man. I wasn't even talking about you. Or I can deal with the feelings because I know I wasn't saying nothing about him. But what's more important? Is the friendship and the relationship more important for me to say, you know what, man, I'm sorry you felt like that, Lorenzo. That wasn't my intent. Can you forgive me? Instead of, man, I wasn't even talking about you. And then now it becomes a friction with us. And sometimes you just got to apologize. It ain't always about whether you right or wrong.
That's
right.
Good. That's good.
You know what I'm saying? So
give up being right even when you know you are.
Yes. Yeah.
That's right. Like that is a huge distinction. If Shawty, what you're saying is relationship is the most important thing, togetherness is the most important thing, then we have to give up being right. But we're so often we're just on it. And you're just on it, and you want to be on it. And so relationships have tension. That's what just stuck out to me. Go ahead. Bro.
Yeah. And so as we take that example, and like I said, we hadn't dealt with the kids' feelings or in that aspect of it. We bury it and we just start doing other things. You said he went through the rest of the school year not raising his hand, not participating. And now in life, he's not participating. He's had good jobs, but he's not participating. So guess what? He loses those jobs because most jobs, especially when you have to interact with other people, there has to be some cohesiveness. There has to be relationships there. That don't mean you have to invite people over to your house, but at work, that relationship has to work. And so now and too often people think I want to, it's become a part of their lives. And some people, it's like that blanket the kid doesn't want to let go. Right. So that hurt is the blanket and people holding on to it. And what too often people do, that we're trying to snatch the blanket from them. I don't think we should snatch the blanket from them. We should tell them, we should give them perspective of the blanket, because whatever that blanket is, it hurt. It was a part of their life. It hurt them, and it's carried on throughout their life. So now let's not try to take the blanket. Let's show them how to deal with the blanket, because only they can put the blanket down, and that only happens after they deal with the issue in the root of it.
Hi.
Powerful, brothers.
Mm-hmm.
Powerful. Yeah, man. You know, I think that's a great question. You know, I think what's more important, being right or the relationship? What's more important? You know,
I like using the analogy of, I think I said it last week. Do you want to be right or do you want to be righteous? Because righteousness trumps right on every feet. Because it's righteousness deals with love. That means I don't have to be right all the time, but long as I'm producing love or I'm demonstrating love in the situation.
Ooh. It's the spirit versus the law. The spirit gives life and the law kills. And so often we focus on the law side of things. This is how it's supposed to be, and I'm right and you're wrong, and her. And the spirit is saying, okay, grace, mercy, yes, this is all true, but the most important part is. And so we're in this cosmic tension of the spirit versus the law. And so this is another aspect of it in terms of the grace we give ourselves and others. Wow, that's deep. Ooh. Go ahead, sirs. Y'all better go ahead and preach on this broadcast today.
Yeah, the grace we give ourselves, man. You know, it's interesting because what we quickly realize as you kind of venture into these conversations is that as a society, we have not been taught to give our mental health the attention it deserves. Yeah. And as a result, and this is both prevalent inside and out of the church as we're men of faith, but we've learned to just sweep issues under the rug. We've learned to grin and bear it through toxic relationships. And we even, you know, this is for those super saved folks. We overload our schedules because we're afraid to say no.
Good. I'm tired now. I'm raising my hand. That's me. I'm tired of being used up. In Jesus' name. All right, go ahead, y'all. Sorry.
Yeah, I mean, you know, it's one of those things. You know, it's like we talked about last week, using God to run from God. So we say yes to everything that's even sounds like it's related to the spirit. When God is saying, you need to slow down, you need to take care of yourself. Listen, I rested on the seventh day. You know, you need to sit your behind down.
Don't say yes to this. Don't. Yeah, it's very real. Boundaries.
What did we say? Exactly. What did we say? We said saying no to one thing and saying yes to the things that are most important.
Yes.
Yeah.
And you gave the example. Can you tell that story real quick again, Ian, about when you went to the lady that was going to be a part of the organization?
Yeah. So there was a situation where this was really broken down to me and it resonated. You know, there was this excellent opportunity to both really share of a person's gift and talent and time in a way that would have garnered them a lot of respect and love and admiration. They were already there, but it was like this opportunity can take you to another level. And they kind of listened to the pitch of what was being presented to them, and they just, you know, simply said no. And the people were surprised. They were like, hold on, this is about clout. You know, this could take you up a notch. What you mean, though? She said, well, you know what? I just told my husband, I told my kids, I told my grandkids that I was going, in this season, I was going to be spending more time with them, for them. And so by saying no to this, I'm saying yes to them.
And you know what? Know why she responded like that? Because her values. And that's the key. The values. And I want to say two things to anyone that ever listened to this podcast. One thing is you have to ask this question of yourself. Who am I? You have to ask that question. Because if you don't know who you are, you don't know where you're going.
Come on.
Just like if the police pull me over and I'm on 80-90 west going towards Chicago, and I'm telling him I'm going to New York, he's going to look at me like I'm crazy. Right? He's going to look at me like I'm crazy. So who are you? That's the one thing. And then the other thing is, what are your values? And you have to know your values, because the values that you have is going to dictate your responses to situations like Ian just shared. The lady had a great opportunity. She could have put another notch on her belt for success. But she said no, because her values dictated that her family was more important. And I guarantee you what she's gonna get down the line from making that decision is gonna be a whole lot more than what she would have got stepping into that position.
Exactly. And what's so powerful about that, and that resonates with me very deeply, as someone who has often said yes when I should have said no, is that she stayed loyal to herself. You know, she was letting her family and folks know that they were important, yes, but she also did not betray her own trust.
Yeah.
And people don't really realize how grimy that is when you go against your own values and you ignore your own needs. You're really it's self-betrayal. How can you trust you if you constantly setting yourself up like that? It's a vicious cycle.
A half truth is a whole lie.
Yes. Partial disobedience is full disobedience.
Yeah. Yeah. So we gotta be able to do it and not be afraid. You know, and there's a difference, right? We're not talking about if you're in a position where you're just self-seeking and self-gratifying. That's not what we're talking about. We're talking about if you out here and you're a people pleaser, right? You struggle to say no because you want to do what the right thing. You want to help and take care of everybody else. But to do that realistically, to do it in a healthy way, in a way that really allows you to make a difference in the lives of others, is you have to take care of yourself as well. Put your like Lorenzo says, put the mask on yourself first. Put the mask on yourself first, so that you can actually be a help to somebody else. And a lot of these circumstances that we find ourselves in, we may not have control over. You know, we might be born into families with difficult people, or we find our way to them via relationship or friendships, partners, co-workers even. And it's challenging. It's challenging to know how best to respond. We're speaking very matter-of-factly about these things, but it's not easy, right? It's not easy to just say no. And that's why we're trying to give you that tool and to know what your values are up front, so that when you get confronted, you don't have to figure it out on the fly. It's when we figure it out on the fly that we get in trouble. But if I already know and I'm already firm in the fact that, you know, I've already said this yes that I should be saying, then it's not so difficult to say this no that I need to say. And so, but you know, it's because of these conflicts, these inner conflicts, that we deal with a lot of negativity and unhappiness in our own lives and our hearts. We're dissatisfied not only with the circumstances of our life, but we're dissatisfied with who we are. And that's hard, man. That's hurtful. You know, I'm wounded for that because I lived that. But one of the most powerful things that I realized on my journey is that when you do say no, it's no longer your problem. That the behaviors and the response being presented or reflected to you are not your fault. And I hope that frees somebody up.
That's good.
The behavior and the response to your no is not your fault.
Right.
The way others cope with their feelings is a part, and we're coming full circle, is a part of their mental health. And it is not a reflection of who you are.
Yeah. That's
Because
good.
somebody led you to believe that you were responsible when you weren't.
And no matter how much they try to put on you, you don't have to take it on.
Mm-hmm.
But we're such empathetic and feeling people that we do, but you don't.
Yeah,
Yeah. When you say no, it is no longer your problem.
that's right. Got to keep it moving. No need to be thinking about it. Thinking about you should did something different. No,
Bro.
what the words say. Let your no be no and your yes be yes.
Oh man. Tell us about it, Shante, because I keep them tapes on replay. Like, man, did I say something wrong? Did I do something wrong?
Oh
You
yeah, me
know?
too. And it's all about growth. It's a process. Don't get us wrong. We everything we talk about, and when we're sharing things, the process. The things we've learned, we didn't learn overnight. Some of the stuff we share, we're going through right now.
Yeah.
Yes.
And because too often people are going through stuff and they feel like they can't share their story. No, share your story in the midst of it, because not only are you going to help somebody, you're going to help yourself by and I learned that through you guys know I went to prison. When I got out, I had to go to AA. And so that's just a principle I learned from attending there. About they tell you to go tell somebody or share your story, right?
You got to
Because
give it away to keep it.
yeah, that reinforces what you're going through, being able to get over this addiction, you know. And I want to say something about addiction. Addiction is addiction. It ain't about what the specific addiction is. We got all these different type of addictions we talk about, but addiction is a thing. and it can be overcome, whatever it is.
Yes.
So just realize that. Don't say because I have a drug addiction or because I have alcohol. Addiction is addiction, and it can be
or
anything.
eating addiction, or a sleeping
Exactly.
addiction, or a cussing addiction. That's
Yeah.
to your point. There are so many addictions, and to the root of why the addiction exists, without putting yourself out there and making yourself
Right.
wrong.
Exactly.
But to the AA thing, that's huge. I did a class called Drug Courts in college. It was alternative ways than putting people in jail for drugs. And the whole part of the thing is, listen, you have to tell your story. A part of it is the secrecy and the shame keeps you in the cycle of it. But if you can share with someone, listen, I'm struggling with this, that will do so much to help you. If you're in marriage relationships, part of adultery and cheating comes in because you're not communicating. You just communicate. Listen, I'm feeling X, Y, and Z. A lot of those secret feelings of those things disappear because you're in communication around it. So, and piggybacking off of that, I want to encourage is struggling with anything. Talk to somebody who's close to you and just begin. That's why the scripture says, confess one another to yourselves. Confession is good for the soul, right? Because you get it off of your chest, and the secrecy, the weight of the secrecy is what's killing you right now. That's a prophetic word for somebody. The weight of the secrecy is what's killing you, and your healing process will begin when you share with someone what you're.
That's good. That's good.
Awesome. That was awesome.
Yeah, and that's what we're talking about, man. Is being mindful, being conscious and aware, becoming conscious and aware. So, we just hope that this conversation has kind of awakens you to some of the things, some of the opportunities and the challenges that you've been having, and we this is not the place. This is not the place where you will be judged or talked about or looked at crazy. Because we know that you are not your actions. We're speaking directly to the root, and I appreciate my brother Lorenzo because he's speaking directly to the root of the challenges and that you're having, and we're here to tell you collectively that there's an opportunity for dramatic, miraculous, powerful change in your life, and we just want to uplift and continue to build you and encourage you towards that. This is Brothers and Influence podcast. We stand to encourage, inspire, and add value in the areas of life, leadership, and community. And the thing about it is this conversation in particular, touches each of those areas: life, leadership, and community.
Yes.
Because, go ahead, Shante.
I was just gonna say, we as the brothers and influence, we're not judges. We're advocates. We're advocates
That's so
for your
good.
life, your leadership, in your community.
That's so
Yes,
good.
sir. Yes, sir. So, final words, fellas, as we look to wrap things up.
I said my piece.
Yeah, I would just want to encourage someone who's out there to surrender. I just encourage you to surrender. That seems to be what God is requiring of people in this season. You might not know what the next steps look like. As you surrender, God is going to bring you step by step, the part of the faith walk to trust him each and every way and each and every time. But you can lean on these words that have been spoken. If you need support in any way, please DM us here with the podcast. We'll get as many resources as we can to you. We'll point you in the right directions to get the support and help that you need. Also, if you feel drawn to this and what we're discussing, send us a DM. We're building something, we're moving, and we're so honored and excited for all of you that and appreciative for all of you that have been tuning in, whether live or online. We're appreciative that you've been a part of these discussions. We'd love to hear your thoughts and your feedback as we continue to expand and grow. And we bless you and we thank God for you. So that's, I don't know, that's what's on my heart to share, bro.
Yes, yes.
And also, we got to mention we're gonna be switching times next month. We'll be currently 3:15 every Monday. We're gonna be switching to 6 p.m. Beginning the 7th, I believe, of next month.
Yeah, Monday the 7th, we're gonna be rocking out at 6 p.m. Moving forward from there. Also next week we have a special guest, my better half, licensed clinical social worker, therapist. To round out our hashtag Mental Health Awareness Month, she's going to come on and we're going to talk a little bit about relationships and mental health.
Oh, yeah.
So we're really excited about that. Yes.
Yeah. I'm excited for that.
So we just want to say we love y'all. Thank you for tuning in. This is the Brothers and Influence Podcast. We love y'all. Have a great week.
See ya.
Peace.